Hey guys, Someplace here. Welcome to week number 5 of the College Football Dynaminis. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. As you can see, we've got the model here. We are working it, and we are ready to go for, a new era of the YouTube channel. Um, we are officially a VTuber, and so now you will be able to see me as I commentate on these college football videos. I know it's not, you know, Uh, not anything special, but we are here, and that is what matters. So, um, let's take a look at our top 10 real quick before we get into today's matches. Rutgers still in first after that incredible week 1 performance. They've got 68 points in their first game over UConn. Then it's Montana State in second, Arkansas third, Oregon State in fourth from last week as well as Arkansas. Texas A&M in fifth, Virginia sixth, Texas Tech seventh, Toledo eighth, Oregon ninth, and Georgia rounding out the top 10. So that is how it is looking. And we've got some pretty exciting games for you here today. A ton of ranked teams. And I did realize I made a mistake. I had Texas, I think, in our top 25. They were around 12th or 13th, but they have now played 2 games. And in their second game, they just scored just 21 points. So 29 points points per game is not enough to be in the top 25. So if you remember the rankings from last week, that bumps Texas out. All the other teams get bumped up one. And Minnesota, the University of Minnesota, is now the 25th ranked team in the nation. So Texas just barely outside that top 25. Looking to get back in it this week. They are playing against Texas Southern, so look for that one to be a blowout. We've got our first ranked versus ranked game. Oklahoma State ranked 24th, playing against the Arkansas Razorbacks, who are currently ranked third. So that will be pretty exciting in the Midwest Conference. Bunch of other ranked teams as well, all listed here. Jacksonville State. We got, Virginia. We got Minnesota's back in it. Air Force. So plenty of exciting games, and I hope you guys stay tuned for this one. But without further ado, let's get right into week number 5 of the College Football Dynaminis. And we start in the North Texas Conference. North Texas just barely beaten by 3 by TCU last week, who currently are second in the conference behind Texas Tech. So North Texas 0-1, looking to bounce back. We've got our first, you'll see this on the scoreboard when it comes up, but we've got our actual in-conference rankings as well as the national rankings. So North Texas, even though they're 0-1, they are currently sitting 5th. A win will bump them up quite a bit. And SFA also 0-1 this week, who they played against TCU as well. So those 2 wins for TCU, North Texas and SFA, now playing each other. And one of them will come out on top here in our first game of week number 5. And it is the Mean Green of North Texas, 42-32 over Stephen F. Austin University. 66% chance to win for them. And North Texas will get off to a better start here after losing to TCU last week. That bumps them up to 1-1, which will now see them into third in the conference. And SFA, unfortunately, now moving to 0-2. I think they're going to get bumped up a little bit because it is about win ratio and not about, amount of wins. So they're still up there with all the 0% wins teams. But now by total points, they are up to 57. So, yeah, that is going to see them into 5th place. Not great for them, though. Still outside the top 4 that they're looking for. But we will see them again. Not actually until week number 15. when they take on SMU, and the week after that, they'll play Tarleton State, fellow FCS team. And as for North Texas, they play SMU in week number 9. And now we move on to the Texas South, where the Texas Longhorns are smack dab in the middle of their 5-game series. They're 2-0 so far, sitting on 29 points per game. Can they get a little boost here against the only FCS team in the conference, Texas Southern? Longhorns currently sitting in first in Texas South. This will be Texas Southern's first game. So let's get right into it. And what? Texas Southern have upset the Longhorns. This is crazy. 42% chance to win. I guess because it's purely by stats, Texas Southern, they must have done well in FCS this year, because that's the stats it's taking from. Longhorns still had the chance to win, and they were looking to get back into the top 25 national rankings, but they are not going to get it here, as Texas Southern 27-17 give them the upset of the year. That's kind of crazy. I mean, not upset of the year. There have been some crazier upsets, but that is incredible from Texas Southern, and that will help Texas A&M jump back up to first in the Texas South Conference, as the Longhorns moving to 2-1. That is going to see the Longhorns down into fourth. They've still got a positive winning record, but now behind 3 1-0 teams, Texas A&M, Houston, and Texas Southern. So an incredible performance from the Tigers of Texas Southern. And the Longhorns fall to 2-1. And now is the game you guys were probably waiting for, between two ranked teams. 24th ranked Oklahoma State, my favorite college, my favorite sport. What would be the term? Collegiate team to cheer for in any sport. And they're taking on the University of Arkansas, who are currently ranked 3rd in the nation. And Oklahoma State did not have a good season at all in the FBS this year. I think we won maybe 2 games. One of them probably against an FCS opponent, but in Arkansas, I don't really remember how Arkansas did, but definitely better than Oklahoma State. So here's to hoping the Cowboys come away with the win. But I'm not super hopeful, and wow. Oh, that is painful. 45-19. It was a 92% chance to win for the Razorbacks. Oklahoma State, not even close. They get smoked here. And it was between first and second in the conference, but Oklahoma State are going to drop heavily after this one. They fall to 1-1, 50 total points, so 25 points per game, which is okay, I guess. But Arkansas are going to storm ahead to 2-0. That only knocks their points per game a little bit. They were at 51, so they're going to be at 96 now. And as for points per game, that's going to be around, I think 48 is the midpoint there. Still really good for Arkansas. They will retain probably their top 10 ranking here, as Oklahoma State are going to drop to 3rd. The Sooners passing them up, also an undefeated team. Oklahoma State just ahead of Kansas State now, who are also 1-1. In the Midwest Conference, we will see Oklahoma State again taking on Arkansas State in Week 12. Hopefully a little bit more, hope for that. And Arkansas will also take on Arkansas State in Week number 9, as they look to stay undefeated. And now we are on to the Louisiana Conference, where we see the debut of Louisiana State, LSU, the Tigers, one of the more dominant teams of the recent era. Can they put up some good numbers in their first game here, taking on ULM, who are 0-1, losing to Grambling State last week? University of Louisiana Monroe taking on Louisiana State. And it is a good win for the Tigers. Not as big a scoreline as I thought it was going to be, but a 97% chance to win for LSU. They took it. It wasn't as dominant as it could have been, definitely, but they will get off to a 1-0 start here in the Louisiana Conference. We'll see them again in Week 10, taking on Louisiana Tech, and ULM will drop to 0-2. They could have a chance to bounce back against fellow winless team Southern in week number 8. So make sure to subscribe. Stay tuned for that if you like seeing little tiny schools punch each other for, I don't know. Might not be that exciting, but LSU returning in week number 10, and that will actually see them jump up to first in the conference. Tulane were first, but only 21 points scored in their game. So LSU 1-0, 28 points, first place in the Louisiana Conference. And now it's on to the Gulf Conference, the colleges of Alabama and Mississippi. And the University of Alabama got off to a good start last week, 28-9 over the University of South Alabama, who were 3-0 up until that point, now falling to 3-1. We won't see either of those schools today. It's the University of Alabama Birmingham taking on Jackson State from Mississippi. And UAB has not yet played. Jackson State is 0-1 after losing to South Alabama in week number 1. But it was just by 1 point, so maybe they'll be able to bounce back here, get to an even record once again here against UAB. And it is not to be. UAB, a 50% chance to win, and they take it. 44 points scored to 35 for Jackson State. And so Jackson State will fall to 0-2 here. They've scored a decent amount of points in both those games. They're at around like 31, 32, 31 probably points per game, or 30. So looking decent for them. Remember, any team above 24 points per game, even if they do not qualify naturally through by finishing top 4 in their conference, if they score above 24 points per game, they will qualify for the wild card tournament. And the winner and runner-up of the wild card tournament will make it into the college football playoff. As for UAB, that is their first game of the season and now first win. We'll see them again taking on Ole Miss in week number 9. That'll be a much tougher competition there. And for Jackson State, they'll be playing Alabama, the Crimson Tide, in week number 8. So come back for that. They're probably not bouncing back. They'll probably fall to 0-3. Alabama is a very, very, very good school. But you never know. So we shall see. Make sure to, subscribe. I'm going to keep saying that, but subscribe and stay tuned for that. And we move on to our 6th conference, the Mountain Conference. 4 teams on 1-0 there. It is an 11-team conference, so that one will take quite a bit longer than the rest. Air Force currently in first, getting the win last week. 36 points scored in that one. Then they're followed by Utah, Northern Arizona, and Colorado, who are all teams at 1-0. This week, we'll see the debut of who I think is the strongest team in the Mountain Conference, Brigham Young University, BYU, from Utah. And Air Force are currently first in the Mountain Conference as it stands, but can they stand up to the might of the Stormin' Mormons, as they're affectionately known as? Enough said. Let's get right into it. And wow, BYU walking over the Air Force Academy. 88.9% chance to win for them. And Air Force put up 20, but it wasn't close to enough to get the win, as BYU score 54 points, and that will see them almost definitely into the top 5 in the nation with that win. And it definitely sees them into first in the Mountain Conference, as Air Force now fall to 1-1 and fall to 5th in the Mountain Conference behind all those undefeated teams. BYU, we will see them again next week, taking on New Mexico. As for Air Force, they also play New Mexico next, and that will be in week number 9. And now we move on to the Pacific Conference. USC with a grip on things as it stands. They're the only 2-0 team in the Pacific Conference, Hawaii being the only undefeated team who has got a game so far. And it's 2 debutants here, so we will have another 1-0 team after this week. We've got the Stanford Cardinal taking on San Jose State. This is the first of a series of 3 for San Jose State. They'll take on Fresno State next week and UCLA in week number 7. Can Stanford put to bed San Jose State's hopes for a 3-0 series there? Or will San Jose start off their season with a win? And it will be Stanford 23-14 getting the win, and that was an upset. It's saying 28, just a 28% chance to win for Stanford. Did not see that one coming. But it is the Cardinal 23-14 getting the win. And as for them, we'll see them playing in week number 8 against UCLA, right after the conclusion of the San Jose State gauntlet that they have here. And so San Jose State 0-1 now, and they've got 2 games ahead of them here in these next couple weeks. So maybe they'll be able to bounce back against one of those 2 schools. And now it's the Northwest Conference, one of our few 8-team conferences. Washington State, their first week here, playing against 1-0 Idaho, currently sit 3rd behind Oregon State and Oregon. So Idaho with an improvement to 2-0. As long as they score enough points, that will see them to 1st in Northwest. Or can Washington State get off to a good start here against an FCS team who used to be their rivals when Idaho were in FBS. The schools, I believe, are they're pretty close together. I don't remember exactly where Idaho is, but I believe they're less than 100 miles apart, unless I'm mistaken, which I very well could be. But let's get right into this game. Washington's first game of the season taking on Idaho, and it will be the Cougars with a 3-point win, 31-28. Wow, dead even 50% chance to win. Don't see that very often. But it is the Cougars who come out with this one 31-28, and they'll get off to a 1-0 start to their season as Idaho dropped to 1-1. 31 points will see them up into 3rd. Washington State are now behind Oregon State and Oregon. And we will see them again soon when they take on Idaho State in week 9 and the current conference leaders, Oregon State, in week number 10. As for Idaho, they've got a matchup with Oregon State in week 7. So good luck to them for that. And they follow that up with a game against probably the best team in Idaho, Boise State. And now into the North Conference, where we have a matchup between 2 1-0 teams. One of whom is ranked. It's the University of Minnesota, and they are taking on South Dakota State, who shut out Wisconsin in week number 2. It was 17-0, the Jackrabbits, and they face the Golden Gophers here today in an exciting one. This one probably for control of the North Conference if one of them scores enough points. Of course, Montana State is currently in first in the conference with Minnesota and South Dakota State behind them. Montana State scoring 52 points in the opening week against Wyoming. So, just 22 points for Minnesota will get them there in a win. South Dakota State, they'll probably have to score at least 40 to pass Montana State, but one of them will be walking away 2-0, and the other one will fall to 1-1, and it will be South Dakota State taking the win. 38 points scored. That will see them into first in the conference. Minnesota just putting up 23 points in a 77% chance to win for the Jackrabbits. And they will take it up to 55 points. That's only around, 29? No, like 27 and a half points per game. So probably not enough or definitely not enough to get ranked. But it is another win nonetheless for them, and they move up to 2-0. Meanwhile, Minnesota falling to 1-1. They will stay in third, however. Wisconsin's still below them, the other 1-1 team in the conference, and still 3 teams in that conference yet to play: Montana, North Dakota, and North Dakota State. The Bison, I think, being the ones I anticipate the most. South Dakota State up into first now, and we will see them in week number 10 when they take on the current now second place team in the conference, Montana State. So that will be an exciting one. Stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, Minnesota will be put on hold until week 14 when they play North Dakota State. So that will be an exciting one as well. So make sure you come back for that. And now it's the Central Conference where Notre Dame are 0-2 after just a horrible start to the season. A loss against Nebraska and an even crazier loss against Illinois. And now they face Northern Illinois, who got absolutely smoked by Iowa State last week. But looking to bounce back to 1-1. They did beat Notre Dame in real life. I think that was 2 seasons ago. It wasn't this season. It was the season before this last one. As of time of recording this, and I guess as of time it's coming out, Indiana in the Central Conference that I have made, Indiana are the real life champions of college football, which is just crazy, the turnaround that they've had from being a laughable team 3 years ago to now where Coach Signetti and the whole program has come. It's pretty crazy. So for any team to hope to stand a chance, they're going to have to get a lot of wins. And so Notre Dame is going to need to bounce back here against Northern Illinois. But I don't know. Notre Dame has definitely been one of the, like, what's the term? Not overrated, but like, they just underperforming, an underperforming team, even in my initial simulation. So we shall see as they take on the Huskies of Northern Illinois here, and taking care of business is Notre Dame, getting back on track here, 29-7, and that will help them out a lot. 85% chance to win for the Fighting Irish, and hopefully getting back on the right track now. They do have an unfortunate matchup next week against the real-life champions, Indiana. So that will be a crazy game if they manage to pull that one off, and could even see Notre Dame's season back on track in terms of looking to win the Central Conference. As for Northern Illinois, we won't see them again until week 15 when they take on Northwestern fellow Illinois school. And now it's the Lakes Conference where we see the debut of another big school here. It's the University of Michigan and Big Blue, the Wolverines. They're taking on 0-1 Akron this week. We'll see them again next week against Ohio, the Wolverines. But this is their first game of the year. Toledo currently lead the Lakes Conference, 43 points scored in their only win of the year. Well, first win, only game of the year. Michigan State and Cincinnati also 1-0, so Michigan looking to get into that club, join that club. And Akron could, I mean, they are hoping to bounce back here, but, you know, it is the Michigan Wolverines, a very strong and historical program. So let's see what is going to happen here. And, I mean, we didn't really expect anything different there. 95% chance to win for Michigan. 38-13, no chance for Akron. Well, technically a 5% chance, but very low chance for the Akron Zips, who now fall to 0-2, and they're slipping farther and farther away from the 24 points per game needed to still make the wild card bracket, as they only score 13 points this week. So they're at 16 points per game now, and Michigan with 38 points are going to take second above rivals Michigan State. Still behind Toledo, though, although that will probably see the Wolverines into the national rankings. But it's at least second here in the Lakes Conference, and as I said earlier, we're going to see them again next week, taking on Ohio, so they could make a push for the first spot in the conference if they manage to grab another win. And as for Akron, we're gonna have to wait until week 8 when they take on a fellow winless team, Miami, Ohio. And now it's the Middle East Conference, the schools of Kentucky and Tennessee, where Western Kentucky was ranked last week after getting a crazy upset win over the University of Kentucky, but they did lose last week to Memphis, so they are sitting at 1-1, looking to bounce back here against one of the mistake teams in the conference, Bowling Green. I thought they were in Tennessee. They're not in Tennessee, they're in Ohio, but they're pretending to be in Tennessee, so they are in the Middle East Conference. One of the few mistakes that I made, but everyone makes mistakes, so that is why Bowling Green is here, and they are taking on Western Kentucky here in their debut. Hilltoppers against, I forget, what is it, like the Owls? Their logo is like a little owl guy, I think, Bowling Green. But anyway, Western Kentucky, Bowling Green, and the Hilltoppers win it. Big Red, 40-17. It was an 87% chance to win. Oh, sorry, the Falcons. Bowling Green. I don't know why I thought that was an owl. Not bad. But Western Kentucky getting the win, moving back up into the winning column. 40-17, and that will move them up to 2-1. So they'll pass 1-1 Kentucky with the win ratio there, up to 106 points scored so far this season, which gives them an average around 38-ish. Oh no, probably actually closer to 38, 36, 38, somewhere in there. Move up to third in the conference. Memphis and Middle Tennessee State are the 1-0 teams there. And Bowling Green on their debut dropped to 0-1 and just 17 points scored in their opener. So that will see them temporarily, at least, to the bottom of the Middle East Conference. We'll see them again against Vanderbilt in Week 9. And Western Kentucky will next take on Louisville in Week 10. And in the Virginia Conference, we've got a very exciting one between two undefeated schools, two 1-0 schools. Virginia, who are second in the Virginia Conference. William and Mary is first on 2-0. But it is Virginia and Old Dominion, second and third in the Virginia Conference, who are playing today. And the winner will probably take first place in the Virginia Conference from William and Mary. And Virginia already ranked nationally. Old Dominion needing just a few more points per game. So if they score about probably 32, 33 points in this game and win, that will see them in the national rankings most likely. So let's take a look here. Who will be getting the win? And it is Old Dominion in what the computer says is double overtime. 41% chance to win. And it was a 4-point game, 24-20. And Old Dominion, who were the surprise upset champions of the Virginia Conference last week, have now beaten the favorites for a second year in a row as the Cavaliers fall to 1-1. And Old Dominion, the Royals, kind of a baller name. The Royals, I think. They have like a lion with a crown. I could be wrong about the mascot name. But Old Dominion, 2-0. And that will just see them up to, 52. So that will see them up to first place as it's above William and Mary's 51 points on the year. Probably not into the national rankings, though, just 26 points per game from that. So we shall see there. But Old Dominion now taking first in the Virginia Conference. Virginia only falling to third, as three teams, Virginia Tech, Liberty, and James Madison, have yet to debut. We will see the Cavaliers again taking on James Madison in Week 10, and Old Dominion will have to wait till Week 12 when they take on the Mountaineers of West Virginia. And it is time once again for a ranked team, and this time it's the ranked team above all other ranked teams, Rutgers. 1-0 at 68 points in their first game against UConn. playing here probably the worst team in FCS statistically, UMass, the University of Massachusetts in the New England Conference. And can Rutgers keep their hold on first place? They'd need to score a similar amount, at least 60 points against UMass. And the way they did it against UConn, you'd think it would be pretty easily possible here against a much worse team. Or can UMass pull off the upset of the century? No, they cannot. Just 3 points scored for them. Rutgers 47, so not quite as crazy of a score. Still a really good score. That is going to knock their points per game, and that could possibly see them out of the number 1 spot. I'm not really sure at the moment. That will see them up to 115 points scored in 2 games, which is just an insane number. That is around, let's see, 55 would be 110, so that is 57 and a half points scored, which, let me check here real quick, does in fact keep them in first place here. I look over everything once again. Yeah, BYU, the closest to them, scored 54 points this week. But Rutgers, 57.5, will remain first in the New England Conference and first in the nation as UMass dropped to 0-2, just 9 points scored in those 2 games, over those 2 games. So 4.5 points per game, not great at all. We will get to see them again next week, taking on another FBS opponent in Boston College. It's not looking super hopeful for them. And as for Rutgers, the number 1 seed, will have a 4-game run starting in week number 12 when they go against New Hampshire, then Buffalo in week 13, Rhode Island in week 14, and finally Syracuse, who are currently second in the conference, in week number 15 there. Oh, sorry, a 5-week span. I didn't even see that. They'll play Army in week 16. So most of the games for Rutgers coming in that span, and we will have to wait to see them until then. But as of now, and they will hold on to it for a while, the number 1 seed in the country, Rutgers 47-3 over the UMass Minutemen. And now it's the Mid-Atlantic Conference, where Delaware pulled off what is probably the upset of the season thus far, defeating Pitt 50-46. Pitt were 1-0, I believe, close to top in the conference. I don't think they were first, but they were close. And yeah, Pitt now falling to 1-1. So Penn State currently leading the conference, but Delaware is going to get another chance at it. They are 1-2 after getting smoked by both Penn State and Maryland. In the first couple weeks, this will be their 4th game of the season after just 5 weeks. And they're taking on FCS team Villanova. So Delaware probably with a more likely chance to win here. And with a win, they will get back to even to 2-2. And for Villanova, this is their first game of the year. Can they get off to a 1-0 start, or will it be defeat in their debut? It will not. Villanova, wow. After Delaware upset Pitt, they have nothing on Villanova, who scored 55 points. They were going for the number 1 seed there. They just needed a field goal. But Villanova, I think with that, are going to become the 2nd or 3rd ranked team in the country. 55 points scored in the win over Delaware, who dropped now to 1-3. Unfortunate for them. It was I suppose it was a fluke. We were hoping it wasn't, but I suppose it was a fluke against Pitt, getting that win. And now they're back to their regular ways. 97 points scored, so almost 25 points per game. So we could still possibly see Delaware in the top 4, but as of now, they're going to drop to 5th, winning just 1 out of their 4 games. And for Villanova, they're up to 1-0, and that will, 55 points, see them up to first in the Mid-Atlantic, passing Penn State, who scored just 37 points in their 1 win. We're going to see Villanova again here in against Penn State in week number 9. In fact, the next 4 weeks are all going to have Penn State. They play Pitt next week, then Temple, Ball State, and Villanova in week number 9. As for Delaware, they've played 4 games already this season. They've got just 3 more to go. Only 7 games played here in a 8-team conference. And so we'll have to wait until week 16 when Delaware take on the Navy Academy. And, already looking bleak for them. If they can maintain their points per game, though, that will be what gets them into the wild card tournament. And maybe they can pull off a couple more upsets there to get into the college football playoff. But everything's still up in the air as it stands. And Villanova win this week 55-28. And 3 conferences left to go, starting with North Carolina, as Duke, the defending champions of the North Carolina Conference, who won in my initial simulation, are debuting here, their season debut, up against the one FCS team in their conference, North Carolina A&T. Not a bad side, NC A&T, but can they hold a candle to the Blue Devils? And will Duke start off with a 1-0, or will they be upset? It will be 1-0 for Duke, 26-6, as NC A&T really had nothing for them there. It was a 98.3% chance to win for Duke, so not really much of a surprise there, if you really think about it. Duke, we'll see them again next week against Wake Forest, who are 1-1. And NC A&T will get a chance to bounce back in week 12, also against Wake Forest, which starts off a run of 3 games when they play Wake Forest, East Carolina, and Charlotte. So a few of their games coming in that time frame, week 12, 13, 14. If you're an Aggie fan, come back for that. But Duke getting the win here, up to 1-0. That will see them into 3rd, just behind the University of North Carolina, and East Carolina at 2-0, still in 1st in the North Carolina Conference. And now 2 9-team conferences left to play, starting with the Southeast Conference. The University of South Carolina are 1-0, currently sitting 3rd, and after defeating Coastal Carolina in a shutout win, 24-0 last week. They'll play little-known rival South Carolina State. They are in different divisions. South Carolina are FBS, and SC State are FCS. So I don't think they've met very often in real life, unless it's like preseason or whatever. But this is for the conference, or for this conference play. All games are conference play. In the college football Dynaminis, this is SC State's first game of the year. They're one of just 3 remaining teams who have yet to play a game, and SC, the University of South Carolina, could get up to 1st in the conference with a win. They need just 12 points to surpass Georgia, who are currently sitting in 1st. It's Gamecocks against Bulldogs, and it is South Carolina, a little score here, 16-6. Definitely won't see them into the national rankings, as that hurts their points per game. But that will see them, by total points, take 1st place in the Southeast Conference, up to 40 points, 20 points per game for them. Now 2-0 for the South Carolina Gamecocks, as SC State dropped to 0-1, scoring just 6 points here. Not super great for them. They'll get a chance to bounce back, though. Unfortunately, it will be against Clemson in week number 15. And then in week number 19, they play Georgia State. So those are their next 2 games, not for a while. As for South Carolina, they play current 2nd place team Georgia in week number 11. So that might be one of the games of this conference. We've got Clemson, Georgia in week number 8, and then South Carolina, Georgia in week number 11. The only other teams I think could possibly take this conference, Georgia Tech and Georgia, of course. So stay tuned for those games. Georgia Tech have yet to play a game. Until next week, they'll play Georgia State. So come back around for that one. South Carolina get the win here, 16-6. And finally, the Florida Conference, were ranked 1-0 Jacksonville State, who got the win in week number 1 against Florida A&M, are playing against debutantes Central Florida, who I think have a good chance to make the playoffs by finishing in the top 4 in their conference. This would see either of these teams well on their way. Jacksonville State with another win, that would be very helpful for them. And yeah, Central Florida's first game of the season, the Golden Knights taking on the Gamecocks. Let's see who it is here, and it will be UCF winning the game. 34 points scored in this one, 34-18, moving up to 1-0. And probably, you know what's funny? Probably swapping, like just taking Jacksonville State's national ranking there, as they've got pretty similar points per game previously. Jacksonville State had scored 33. They're now up to 51 total, but that takes them down to 25.5 points per game, and now on 1-1, as its by win ratio will not be in the national rankings, as we still have only undefeated teams in our top 25. That definitely will change closer to the end of the season. But as of now, South Florida currently leads the Florida Conference at 2-0, and UCF also 1-0 now, the only other undefeated team that has played in the Florida Conference. And that will end our matches for today. Let's take a look at our top 25, our teams playing next week, and then we can get out of here. And here is our top 25, starting with our bottom 5 of the top 25. Still some good teams here. Clemson in 21st, Iowa State, Utah, Memphis, and Houston. No one new there, but we did have Oklahoma State and Minnesota were here last week, but they drop out this time after both teams lose. Washington State is 26th. They won't show up in the top 25, but they have 31 points per game after the win this week. Next up, we have East Carolina in 16th, and the rest of the teams on 34. Central Florida and Southern Florida, 17th and 18th. Then it's Hawaii and Michigan State, rounding out the top 20. Then we've got Oregon, Georgia, newcomers Michigan scoring 38 points this week in a win over Akron. Toledo in, TCU in 14th, and Penn State in 15th. Then up into our top 10, Arkansas fall down just a little bit, down into 6th, winning this week again. They're up to 2-0. Texas A&M 7th, Texas Tech in 8th. Newcomers Alabama, Birmingham, UAB into 9th with a 44-point win this week, and Toledo rounding out the top 10. And then our top 5, once again, looking at quite a bit different. Rutgers still in first, 2-0 now on 57.5 points per game. Looking a little bit less invincible now, but still a really, insanely high. They've scored 115 points in just 2 games, so that's kind of crazy. Villanova are second on 55 points this week. BYU also winning this week, scoring 54 points. Montana State in 4th. They managed to hold on to that top 5 spot with 52 points scored. And Oregon State, scoring 49 last week, are still in 5th. So that is how our top 25 is looking. And here are the teams playing next week. A couple of interesting debutants, the Gators and Florida and Georgia Tech. Got also quite a few 1-0 teams, some ranked teams as well as teams looking to make a comeback. So stories all over the board here. Probably the most interesting game, in my opinion, debut of current national real-life champions Indiana taking on Notre Dame, who bounced back this week. I don't know if Notre Dame is going to have a chance, but they can hold out hope. Texas looking to get back into it, falling out of the rankings this week, but they're taking on ranked opponents Houston as their gauntlet gets only harder. They play Houston next week and Texas A&M the week after. So that's going to be tough. We'll see Texas Tech play their third game of the year. They're currently first in the Texas North Conference, and they play UTEP, so probably an easy game for them. And Montana State, the current fourth-ranked team in the country, playing Wisconsin next week. Plenty of ranked teams, I guess. Didn't realize over first glance how many there were, but we're going to see definitely a lot of interesting matchups that could go a long way in deciding who wins each conference and who will make it into the college football playoff for the Dynaminis 2026. If you've watched this far, thank you guys for watching. I don't get a whole lot of views on this series, and I spend probably about 4 to 6 hours editing each video. So I appreciate your patience as well. I know I've been kind of crazy, little off, not daily, but like a couple hours late for. I try to upload at around noon. It's like noon Hawaii time, I think. It's 2 p.m. Pacific, which is where I am, but I try to upload around that time, and sometimes I am a little bit late. So I appreciate all your patience, and I appreciate each and every view I get on this video. If you've watched this far, comment down below who your favorite college football team is, and I will respond with where they currently are in the standings, or if they've played at all. And if they haven't, I'll tell you when their first game is so you can tune in. Like this video so I know that you guys are real and not bots. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, and see ya.